Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. It's a gorgeous spring day, and every time we open the show, I say welcome to Florida Panhandle Technical College. Right now, you see some aerial video of our campus. Take the opportunity, say hello, stop in at Student Services right here on Hoyt Street in Downtown Chipley. Find out all the over 40 degree and certification programs that we offer right here on this Chipley campus. An opportunity to retool your life, a career in a year, as we like to say. Our guest today is Anita Clarke from Council on Aging. We've got a special event coming up for Council on Aging, the Senior Expo. This year, either the 7th or 8th annual. I can't really quite remember how many there have been. It doesn't really matter. It's a great event. If you're a senior, if you're getting ready to be a senior, if you're a senior in your life, this is an event of which you should be aware. For that matter, Council on Aging is something of which you should be aware. We're going to talk to Anita a little bit about just that. What is the Council on Aging? So when we come back, we're going to find out about all this and more, and we will be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Anita Clarke from Council on Aging. Thanks so much for taking that long drive all the way down South Boulevard this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Council on Aging is right across from the courthouse annex. You've got Emerald Coast Hospice, the Health Department, Council on Aging. A lot of times people kind of go past those buildings and it's kind of a blur. They're all roughly the same color. They all set back from the road. People realize there's some sort of agencies, but they're not really quite sure exactly what you guys do. We've had the fortune, Anita, as we talked about in the pre-show, attending some of the luncheons during the political season, and that was very lucrative probably for some of the political candidates who had a chance to meet. More importantly, to attend some of your events. We had the opportunity to work with Mary Enfinger for the very first Senior Expo here in Chipley. It's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for seniors. It's a great opportunity even more so for those vendors who offer services, goods, products for that senior market, many of which are free of charge, many of which can be subsidized by some agency, but our seniors at the end of the day don't really know. Let's start at the beginning. What is Council on Aging?
Council on Aging is a service that we try to help seniors 60 and older to remain in their homes. We provide in-home services for them, such as homemaking, personal care, respite, companion service. We also have a day center in the back of our facility for people who suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's. We give a relief to the caregivers. It's at no charge. They can come stay Monday through Friday. It's an 8 to 5 program. We are federally and state funded programs. We do have to have cash match and fundraisers in order to continue our services. But our seniors benefit a lot from this. At our expo, we will have numerous vendors there of a variety. It is free of charge. You can get a lot of information. We will have the nursing program from the technical college there to do some blood pressure checks and some different things. We will have several home health agencies. I believe we have a vascular doctor coming from Panama City. We have massage therapists, different things going on. We will be providing lunch there for you. To be able to, it's hamburgers, but it's a good time to fellowship and get the information you need in order to look for your future and what you need to do.
Being a state and federally funded program, typically do we find a Council on Aging agency in every county in Florida?
Basically, there is one in about every county. In our PSA here, that we had 14 at one time, but we've combined some and we're down to 12 now. But most every county, neighboring county here, does have their own facility that assists seniors with their needs.
Council on Aging, you work with seniors. What is your definition of a senior, and at what point does a person hit that golden age to be considered a senior in your eyes?
It's always been 60 over. However, Medicaid changed 3 years ago and it went to managed long-term care. At that point, they changed it, and our Medicaid program actually covers anyone over the age of 18 forward. If they're on the program with managed long-term care, then they can contract with us for in-home services. They actually do the case management and send the service to us to provide, but it can be for anyone 18 and older that has Medicaid.
The Council on Aging has a beautiful building right there on South Boulevard. When you walk in, it's almost like walking into somebody's living room. Your foyer is done up with some easy chairs and some furniture, some lamps. You depend heavily, and I jump to this because when I walk in there, I picture myself walking in that door. You have a lot of volunteers. Like many agencies locally, possibly you couldn't even operate without those volunteers. Talk about how that volunteer program works with the Council on Aging.
Okay. We do have several volunteers. We have some in staff at the office who helps maintain our phones. We have some who helps in our kitchen. We have several people who are on meal delivery programs or just taking seniors to the doctors for doctor's appointments whenever they do not have the proper transportation for it. We use several volunteer programs. Most of them is we have a senior care program that we're out of Tallahassee that helps us with the funding, or either we just have locals who come in and want to donate a little bit of time to us to be able to help our seniors.
Ballpark, how many volunteers do you suppose that you have that are working with you, just roughly?
I would say probably close to from the age of 12 to 15.
And would it be fair to say, as I started out by saying at the beginning, that probably without those volunteers, you wouldn't be able to offer the full comprehensive package of services that you do? That's
very true. Our volunteers, especially our meal delivery people who deliver meals as far as Ebro, Highway 20 area, they do this for no compensation. The travel money, their gas money and all, they donate to us. And that is a big help that keeps from coming out of our budget from having to pay.
10 or 12 years ago, and I guess that would have been under the reign of Mary Enfinger at the Council on Aging. We spoke to her briefly at one of the events as part of one of our shows, and we pointed out the fact that at that time when the bubble burst, a lot of people were impacted fiscally. A lot of older folks lost, at least on paper, some of their retirement investments and so forth. And we found across the board throughout the state that volunteerism dropped, and it was exactly for the reason that you just pointed out. These volunteers don't get compensated typically, and especially at the Council on Aging. They could no longer afford that extra $100 a month for gasoline that was allowing them to do Meals on Wheels, or they couldn't justify driving from wherever they live to the Council on Aging to help provide those services. Do you have the number of volunteers that you need right now to effectively provide what you want to?
We could always use more volunteers. We have calls all the time. If it's not for meal delivery, it's simply taking people to doctors or appointments who cannot get means to transportation at that time. It's a spur of the moment. And we utilize a lot of our volunteers over and over. And sometimes I think they get a little spread thin with it.
Now, you mentioned that help in getting to other agencies, whether it's a medical facility, and much of that by default in emergencies and emergency is last minute. Can somebody, a senior, simply give you a call for help at that moment, or do they have to be enrolled in the program to be able to qualify to get those services?
We try to, if it's a senior in the community that's in need, that is, calls us, that is desperate, we will try to utilize our volunteers to do that. As a general rule, normally it is anybody that's entailed in our programs, whether it just be home delivered meals or whether it is an in-home service such as the homemaking or personal care.
When we talk about those home delivered meals, is that Meals on Wheels?
Yes, it is.
So you do administer the Meals on Wheels program for Washington County or some of the greater areas as well?
It's just our county. They're frozen meals and they're delivered. Normally we try to do them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis according to how they can handle the meals in their refrigerators or freezers at that time.
So these are frozen, and then all they have to do is warm them up?
They have to put them in the oven or microwave, and there's directions with them that goes with them. It's a well-balanced meal.
How many people are you feeding roughly regularly each week?
In our home delivered program, I would say probably there is around 100 that's getting them in our county right now. And there's a lot more out there that needs them.
Would it be fair to say that those 100 possibly would either be going without or at least not as well nourished as they should be
Yes,
were
sir.
it not for your service?
Yes.
Now, you also provide meals on site.
We do congregate meals at our site. It's Monday through Friday. Normally they eat at 11:30. You call in by 10 to let us know you want to come up. They will prepare you the same meals that we do send out in the homes, but it will be already cooked for you, and you can have time for socialization to meet people, because a lot of people stay isolated, and they really need that to help build them and get them out more.
Well, and I'm glad you said that. It segues into what I did want to talk about next, and that's that community involvement, that ability to have that personal communication. So often, as we get older, well, you don't even have to be old anymore. You see the kids on the couch, 3 of them, and they're all texting, sometimes each other, but there's no human communication. But as we get older, there's more of a tendency to be living alone, especially if your spouse dies. In a rural, widespread community such as we find ourselves now, many times these folks are just literally separated geographically to the point where they don't get around real good. They get to the point where even though they may still be able to legally drive, they kind of scare themselves or someone else. So their family takes their keys away, but they're not replaced with that ability to. Do you have a bus or any other mass transit transportation, or are there any agencies who may pick people up and bring them to these meals?
At our site, we do, Tri-County does bring people up to our congregate site at Chipley. That's the only main site we have here. However, we do have sites in Sunny Hills, Greenhead, Ebro, and Caryville also. They do not do the meals there. They normally do potluck, but they have activities that go on once a week. Each one of these centers have something going on there, and we have a good attendance in most of our agencies out there.
Well, Washington's a very large, spread out county. There's no doubt. Many times people forget that Caryville and Ebro are even part of Washington County. Sometimes you have to go outside the county to get to those parts of Washington County. If you're on 20, you're driving east or west, you go through Washington County into Bay County into Washington County, and then to get to Caryville from here, you have to go through Holmes County, at least on Highway 90.
Right.
So many times by default, we just forget about those people that live in those outlying areas, but your services at Council on Aging are available to all of those people. Many times, I guess it would probably be closer for them to go to the neighboring county, but they either are unaware or those services are just simply not available to them because they live in another county.
Right.
How many meals on the average do you serve on site, Anita?
On a weekly or daily basis, it varies.
A dozen?
Probably on a daily basis. Thursdays is our big day. We have bingo, and we have a big crowd that shows up to play bingo there, so we have a bigger attendance that day. But on the average, I would probably say a range of 8 to 12.
We talked briefly during the pre-show. We sort of alluded to the political season, especially this last one. There were a lot of candidates running for a lot of different positions, and there were many of those friend-raiser luncheons provided free of charge in the gazebo there behind the facility. You had Emerald Coast Hospice, which is next door. You had the health department. You had some of these other agency people all come to these. But I sort of tried to keep an eye on those who were most obviously the seniors. Would it be fair to say that those people, if it were not for that meal provided by whoever the candidate was at that time, would have been the ones eating that meal at your facility? And that took its place?
A lot of them would have been, yes.
You guys provide a service that's at once truly necessary to the community. In many cases, people will actually go hungry were it not for what you were doing, but also probably one of the best kept secrets. Does the county, being that it is partially county funded, does the county do anything to promulgate your services, to let people know about it? Let me say it this way. I know years ago in another lifetime, I worked EMS. We had our ambulance crews do what we called welfare checks on a day when they had nothing going on. They would stop by, and we had a regular list, and if you were a family member and you had a senior in your family that needed to be checked on once in a while, they could be put on that list. So at least once a week, we'd stop by, take a blood pressure, just kind of talk to them, make sure everything was okay, that there were no problems. Once in a while, you'd find somebody who had fallen and couldn't get up, to go back to that commercial that was so popular. But it was true. They were truly in a bad situation, may have died had it not been for these people stopping in. Law enforcement does the same thing.
Right.
Do we see here that you get calls from EMS, fire, law enforcement saying, you know, we've got somebody, they might need some help. Can you check them out? Do you have that?
Yes, it does. It happens. We get that quite regular. If they see someone in need who needs our services, they do reach out to us, and we reach out to them too in instances that we have in the homes.
How many paid staff do you have in your Washington County Chipley facility, ballpark?
In the field too, just right now we're running about 28.
Wow.
We have a large field staff.
Wow. Now, is there some duplication of effort there sometimes? In other words, the people in the field, what are they doing?
They are doing the homemaker services, they're doing personal care, they're doing respite, companion, those services, and most of our girls are able to do any of the services. Whereas for personal care, you're supposed to have your CNA license to be able to do that, or patient care tech license. But we try to hire those so they can multitask and do these numerous things, and to save on mileage and stuff too. Would
you be demanding anything above a CNA certification? In other words, do you have RNs or anything like that?
We have a nurse on staff who is actually one of our case managers, and she does our supervisory visits that we have to have. They have to be done by an RN.
So in some cases, again, you may have that duplication of service. You've got Emerald Coast Hospice, you've got the Washington County Health Department, and then you've got Council on Aging. Do you find that there's a lot of communication between, and I just point out Emerald Coast Hospice because they're next door, but they do provide a lot of those same services. Do you find that there's a lot of communication and help, giving a heads up about a potential problem between all those agencies?
Yes, we all work very close together. All of us do.
And again, because of the fact that at the end of the day, you are providing some of those same type of services at the very least. So you're county and state funded, and then also you take contributions.
Yes, and we do private pay. We offer private pay for any of our services that we do have. So it doesn't matter if you're 60 or not. You're more than welcome to call us. We'll give you the information you need, or if you're in need of services, if you'll call, we'll be more than happy to direct you in the right direction to get on the list for services in the home.
You mentioned at the beginning that part of your charge is to have some form of fundraising. Is that a matching fund situation?
We have to have cash match, and then we have people that our budgets just aren't big enough to take as many people off of a wait list to serve, so we have to raise money in order to try to pull them off to help these people who are very high priority.
So you have a waiting list now?
Yes, we have a waiting list.
Roughly how many people would you have on that?
There's a little over 100 on it at the end of March.
Wow.
Yes.
So potentially there's 100 people out there who could use these services, who are falling through the cracks, who are not getting help elsewhere.
Exactly. But a lot of it is due to funding, our budgets and stuff. So we do have to do our part too.
So as part of that fundraising effort for the last 7 or 8 years, and each year you have the annual Senior Expo. Thanks to the county, you get the use of the Ag Center for that day. Right. In the past, Florida Panhandle Technical College has provided, as you pointed out, some of the nursing students that did health screenings. The cosmetology department did free haircuts. I know in the past I've seen everything from personal alarms that people can wear on their person in case they fall or get into a bad situation. There were a number of governmental or quasi-governmental agencies, state and federal, who offered services, many of them free of charge, to seniors, but they don't have a huge budget, so they can't spend a lot of money on TV or radio getting their word out. This is a great opportunity for them to have that captive audience. You offer lunch at the Senior Expo.
Yes, we do.
There's lots of freebies. There's lots of swag. You can go around and get your koozies and your stress balls and your pens and pencils and talk, more importantly, to talk to people. These agencies amaze me, Anita. They hire people, obviously, who can do the job, who have the qualifications, but they have the empathy. If they see somebody with a walker and they provide a service that has to do with that, they're able to reach out and not wait for them to come to the booth, but walk over to them and say, hey, come on over here. I want to talk to you. We've got some things that you may qualify for. Are you finding that there's a great response in that?
Yes, there is. There is. I think most of our vendors, a lot of them come back every year. We've increased because of the needs. They feel that it benefits them also. for their part to reach out to the community.
And I know for fear of offending anybody, we don't want to necessarily give a comprehensive list, but give us an idea of some of the types of services or agencies that we may see there.
You're going to see home health agencies. You're going to see some of your hospice agencies. You're going to see varicose vein doctor from Panama City. You will see the hearing impaired phones will be there. That's a big one. If you have hearing problems, you need to come and see the lady. She can do your little test on you, and you possibly can walk home with a hearing phone that day, free of charge.
So you do have an audiologist there. Okay. Was it Beltone that comes?
We have had Beltone there, and I'm not sure if they're coming this time, but there's a Florida Relay Telecommunications, I believe is
You
how
will
it
have
is.
somebody there, though.
FTRI is what
Okay.
it stands. Yes, there will be someone there.
Okay.
There will also be drugstores. There are some of our churches participating this year, doing outreach. Numerous things are out there for you to learn about, to get to know. There will also be, I believe, a massage therapist there from the therapy place here in Chipley. So there's a lot of things you can benefit from, and also make you feel good when you leave.
Yeah. Well, I know you've got both hospice organizations usually there. The hospital, do they usually have a presence?
Yes, the hospital will be there. The Washington Rehab will be there. Also, Bonifay Rehab will be there.
Is it Chipley Therapy Group that's offering?
Yes.
That's going to bring the massage therapist?
Chipley Therapy Group
Will they
will
have
be
a chair
there.
massage generally?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what they normally will do there. I want to say we're running around 25 vendors right now.
And you're full.
Yes. We could take more.
Yeah.
We will take more. So call us. By all means, call us and let us know if you're interested. We'll be glad to get your information and have you a place set up at the facility over there.
And I guess worst come to worst, you could actually expand into that East Annex too, couldn't you? The other room?
Yes, sir. We're going to use it for something else, and I haven't mentioned that yet. Collective Goods, it used to be Books Are Fun, that goes to the hospitals and all, that sells things. They set up a big display. They are going to actually be in that wing for us, and we get a percentage of their proceeds, their sales that day, to go back to the organization. So they will be in there set up selling a lot of their items.
They'll be in the East Annex. So your charge will be to make sure you direct people in that way.
Yes.
It's so easy. I pointed out to you that I wasn't even unaware of last year's event until Brian Lee, who's the assistant director here at the school, and I happened to stop by. You can walk around that room, and obviously if you've been here any length of time at all, you know most everybody in the room. You know certainly a lot of the seniors and a lot of the providers. And you can spend a couple of hours talking, and the next thing you know, it's time for you to leave, and you really haven't seen it all. All the more likely to happen if it's in a different room.
Right.
So I would imagine you're going to have people directing
Yes, we will have them directing them that way. And there will also be door prizes. Most of our vendors will be bringing a door prize that we'll be drawing for in the afternoon hours for some nice things to be given away.
This is an annual event. As I pointed out, it's either the 7th or 8th. We can't quite remember which one it is. But this year, it's on Tuesday, April 18th.
Yes, sir.
Correct? From 10 to 2.
Yes.
Short and sweet, 4 hours. This is one of those events that you would say, well, why not make it 9 to 5? Number one, the target audience that you're dealing with, they get tired real fast. They're not going to spend, I see a lot of them, they want to come for lunch. And that's when you have your single largest congregation of people. But it doesn't take long after lunch and they start peeling off. So if you're a vendor and you want to get their attention, you need to get a hold of them before they eat, hopefully.
That's true.
Or right after they eat. It's a great event, Anita. Thanks so much for all that you guys do at the Council on Aging. We just scratched the surface. As I pointed out earlier, I really think you guys would be well served if you tried to make the effort. You could come in once a month and talk about it. Interestingly, last week we had Sunshine Spears from Emerald Coast Hospice who came in. She did 2 shows, one of which was strictly on the Senior Expo. So between you and she talking about that, and heck, if you're a vendor, if you're somebody who's going to participate, give us a shout. We'll get you on the show prior to the event this year and prior to every event every year. No better opportunity. I'm getting closer and closer to being a senior every year myself. I know that. And there's none of us that get out alive. And those last few years sometimes can be a lot more comfortable if we take advantage of what's right in front of us. Many of those services available right through the Council on Aging. Thanks again for coming over.
Thank you for having me.
Over time, I would imagine you have some department heads, or if that's not the term that you use, at least people who handle different services for you that would probably be likely to be able to come and
Right.
talk about that. I'd like to do a show sometimes just on your Meals on Wheels and on your on-site prepared meals. I think that's something, just recently we found out again, it seems like every couple of years it kind of resurfaces, how many kids are going home every Friday from school and never have a thing to eat until Monday morning. And the backpack program that we have here, shame on us. I'm all about missions and sending money overseas. Our church does that very intensively. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, and it's not probably being selfish, I think it's more important to find out that our own people are full first and that they're getting what they need. In this case, seniors. It's easy to think of the kids because, they're in our face all the time. Some of these seniors literally live in places that they very seldom get out, and we don't know that they're hungry.
That's true.
So we depend on people like you. Thanks for all you do, and let's get you back soon and talk about more about Council on Aging.
We will do that.
Thank you, Anita. Our guest today has been Anita Clarke from Council on Aging, talking right now about the upcoming Senior Expo on Tuesday, April 18th, but more importantly, the entire suite of services offered by the Council on Aging, making sure our seniors have enough to eat, make sure that they have the fellowship and the interaction with other people that they so desperately need, and just doing our part. Again, we're all going to be seniors in that same situation soon. If you want to find out more about Washington County Council on Aging, is your website wccoa.org still?
Yes, it is.
All right, I'll say that again for those of you for whom I may have spoken a little quickly. It's WCCOA, Washington County Council on Aging.org, WCCOA.org for more information about everything and all the good works that the Council on Aging right here in Washington County does. If you're listening or watching in a different county, your county probably has a similar organization. Those around us certainly do. Check them out, Washington County Council on Aging.org for more information. We'll be right back.